Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Me and Goldie here, we've been through a lot. We've had our ups and downs. She's been an excellent machine overall. Wouldn't trade it for the world. But there's something I haven't told you guys. And that's how much did old Goldie cost to build into what she is today, which is a freaking muscle car killer, underdog sleeper from hell. And well, it's about time I did that. So this week, we're going to talk about how much did it cost to build old Goldie the Datsun. Greetings, folks. Steve here once again in the garage today, hanging out with old Goldie, and I want to just put this video together to just kind of share a little bit about what the finances look like for old Goldie. Now, old Goldie is not a 8-second quarter-mile drag car, okay? Let me reality check here. It's not, in the world of drag racing, there is a lot of cars that are much faster than Goldie here, but what Goldie has been is a underdog in most situations, facing off with modern muscle cars, your Challengers, your Hellcats, your Mustang GTs with bolt-ons, your Camaro SSs and such. People are usually just surprised to see this car come around them or get out ahead and keep them back. Bottom line, the Datsun was made with some super cheap stuff. And let me just tell you guys a little bit of the background on how we got started with the Datsun and how it has come to be what it is today. You just want me to sit right here? Okay. How's this? So the YouTube channel started out with Goldie, obviously, as kind of the premier car. That's really the first project that I wanted to share about on YouTube. But that wasn't really the original intent when I made the channel.
What started the Master of Machines YouTube channel?
So the name Master of Machines came to me when I was trying to come up with the name of a channel that does something very different than what I actually do now. At that point in my career, I was spending a lot of time flipping cars on the side. After hours at work, I would find sweet deals and acquire them and do just the minimum required to get them drivable and then sell them for profit. And I did that for quite a while and you know, probably flipped a couple dozen cars over the years and just trying to make a little bit extra cash. So originally my thoughts were this might be something that someone would enjoy watching, kind of like a drama series of sorts where we can get the car, we don't know what's all wrong with it, you know, you take a risk on it and then you invest and you sell it and just see how it goes. I kind of felt like that might be something that someone would enjoy watching. So in addition to cars, I had also flipped a couple boats, some outboard engines, even a trailer, I believe, at one point. So in my mind, Master of Machines was more about how we're going to be working on all kinds of different machines, anything that we think we can make a profit on. It wasn't some arrogant thing where I just feel like I know everything about mechanicking or I'm God's gift to cars. Nothing like that. It just seemed like it was fitting for working on a wide range of things, and turned out I didn't make a single video about that type of content, and actually posted up a couple of fishing videos right off the bat and some a little bit of boat repair, but I really didn't focus on any aspect like I had planned to.
How did you learn to work on cars?
After I graduated high school, I started a program called ASEP, which ASEP, Automotive Service Excellence Program, and that's a GM-sponsored technical school, essentially, but it was tied in with a community college here in Dallas called Brookhaven. So basically, they had an arrangement, GM and this college, where I could take GM's mechanic course, which is a 2-year program, and actually get credit hours for the time that I spent in those classes. And so in addition to the automotive side of things, we also were required to take the basic core classes to get your associate's degree. So after the 2-year stretch was over, you came away with an actual associate's degree in applied science. and that science was auto mechanics. I liked my school very much. It was a co-op program, so you had to work at a dealership half the time. So you had a dealership that essentially sponsored you. You know, you'd come on and they would pay you, not very much, just to kind of be a helper. You would log the work you're working on. The idea is you spend a lot of time in the classroom for, I think it was like 6 weeks or 9 weeks of just all classroom time. Then you switch over to working full-time at the dealership for another 6 to 9 weeks, ideally working on what it is you were learning in class that previous session. It's a really good program, and compared to like the 1-year technical schools like UTI and Wyotech and all the like, it was way more affordable. I think I paid like less than a third than my colleagues who went to that type of program. And actually, after working in the dealership and going to school for the 2 years, you come out and you're pretty prepared to move on to a full flagging tech. So I worked at a Saab Hummer dealership for 3 years, and right about the time the GM bankruptcy started to transpire, and they got rid of the Saab name and they got rid of the Hummer name at the same time, my dealership was making a shift towards basically just pre-owned sales. And things started getting a little competitive there, and the environment wasn't really right for me, so I decided to walk away from working at that dealership. In fact, what I wanted to do was quit working on cars altogether, and I went to work with my buddy at a pool maintenance company. And I worked there for maybe 2 months before I decided, like, this sucks. I gotta find something else to do. At one point, I even signed up to be a police officer in the city of Carrollton and took the civil service exam, the physical, the written test, and actually got through like all those stages. But then it came time to do like all the background check stuff, and they gave me this pamphlet that's this thick that I have to fill out with every single neighbor I've ever had, every single school I ever went to, and I was working a full-time job then, and honestly doing the pool thing, I was barely making ends meet. Living with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and we were both in school, so it just wasn't really feasible for me to see that through, and it was kind of an impulse thing anyway. So I decided against that, but after doing the pool thing for a couple months, I was driving past a quick car that was right next to where we were living at the time, and I was just like, I was so fed up with the pool thing. I was like, I'm gonna pull into this quick car and see if they're hiring and just see what they pay, and maybe it won't suck. And I did a quick interview, and I got a phone call before I even made it to the house after the interview saying, we want you to come on board, and we worked out a deal there. And I worked at that quick car for 11 years. You know, wages in this field were a lot different back then. Obviously, a lot's changed in the last few years, but I came on a quick car and was immediately making much more money than I did at the dealership. And the whole time I worked there, they were very good to me. The quick car that I worked at was actually, the owner was president of the Quick Car Owners Association. He had several stores. They all did very well. You know, people kind of think of quick car or like lube shops, and they kind of affiliate that in kind of a negative light as just kind of being a sleazy little dump and pump upsell kind of station. And for sure, you know, we're all guilty of trying to get some upsells and stuff. But our store was really on the up and up. And the thing that I liked about it the most was coming in as a young master tech with really only a few years experience. They kind of just set me free to just work on whatever I wanted to. You know, I got to kind of cherry pick the things that I thought would be most lucrative to the company and to myself, and really develop my skill set there. And I came from working on just these little Swedish / GM cars to diving into Fords and diving into Hondas and Toyotas, and really it rounded off my skill set, I think, and actually brought a lot of new knowledge to me that I wouldn't have had previously just working at the dealership.
Where does Matt come in?
So I met my buddies Matt and Mike working at Quick Car, and they both of them came on just as lube techs, didn't really have any schooling, didn't have any prior experience, and just did the lube tech thing for a while. And as I started to kind of see, you know, what they were about, I started kind of pushing for them to come on my side of the shop and kind of help me out with things and put hands on things. And 'cause I was just buried, you know, I'm the only mechanic at this place, and there's a lot on my shoulders as far as getting repairs done on all these cars. So before long, Mike had become my my apprentice, essentially, which is a second mechanic who was taking on some of the light duty stuff. And Matt would spend some time over with me, but he didn't so much have a knack for the mechanic side of things. What he did really well was deal with customers, sell jobs, and just kind of be the face of the program that I had created. So all of us started getting together pretty regularly. You know, we became buddies, and after a while, my interest in motorsports and my hunger to just learn more and do more and be more kind of got me to a point where I wanted to buy a project car. You know, I didn't know anything about modifying cars. Everything I had done up to this point was just basic service and repair, and I had never actually modified anything. So we decided we were going to buy a project car, and just something cheap, and we were going to just experiment with it, really. And Mike and Matt were on board to come along this journey with me because they were interested in it as well. You know, it's something to do on the weekends. It's something we can all do to just learn a little bit together. And, you know, we all like hot rods, so it seemed like a win-win for everybody. So the agreement going into this was we're going to split everything 3 ways. We split the cost of the car 3 ways. We're going to split all the parts 3 ways. Like, the idea is none of us really wants to or can spend a whole lot of money on this. So we just wanted to keep it cheap and just share the car. You know, it seemed like a pretty good idea. So that's what we did. The agreement in the very beginning, before purchasing the car, was if anyone wants out, you can get out at any time, but you can't like ask the other guys to reimburse you for what you spent. Like, it's not fair for you to expect like to get paid back for what you invested in. Like, you know, the idea was we're all in it for the long haul. We decided to start searching on Craigslist for the right car. We didn't want to spend basically any money. Like, our budget was like nothing. You know, we were hoping to pick up a $300 Honda Civic, or we even looked at a base model Mitsubishi Lancer, and just kind of all over the place. And eventually Mike hits me up and he's like, hey man, check out the Z that I found. Like, you might be interested in this. It's a factory turbo car located about 45 minutes away. And you know, my first car was a 1980 280ZX, naturally aspirated 2-seater. And so I'm like, yeah, I think these are cool. Like, I think that'd be a pretty cool thing to do. And so we decided to go and check it out, and went and saw old Goldie sitting behind a house under a little carport with a bunch of flat tires and just full of like, I think there was old clothing in it. I think there was even like pairs of underwear. Like, someone, I don't know how it ended up in the state it was in. But we took it for $800. It was all everything was here, was bone stock. All the engine parts were there, full interior. It had like this awful, like, it was like cloth interior, but it was like, man, it was just it was terrible. It was like 80s as it could be, and it was hideous with all the brown trim and everything. Awful. And it was an auto, so, you know, we're kind of like, well, we don't really care because we knew we'd be drag racing with it, right? So, like, all right, well, that might be okay, no big deal. But the good thing is no one else wanted it, because being the 2+2 and being the auto and having the horrible color options, it's like the only thing good about this car, and as far as the market's concerned, is that it's a factory turbo car.
Look at them boys.
So the guys and I decided to buy and modify a car for the sole purpose of drag racing.
So we copped the car for $800, and it was off to the races. We towed it straight back to the shop. The owner of the quick car we worked at was cool with us storing it at the shop temporarily, you know, getting it running and stuff. We immediately started like making changes, like permanent changes that were gonna make this like a dedicated race car. Like, the power steering and the AC stuff all came out right away. Like, we're like, we do not need any of this junk. It doesn't work, and we're not gonna make it work. So let's just get it out of the way. Just like anything we could do for free, we did it. You know, we started out going to the racetrack when we first got it running, and we're running like 13-second eighth miles. Actually, you know what? I think 10.3 was our best time, our first night at the track. And just having the most fun of anyone there, you know, trying to figure out how to stage the car, how to launch the car. And we're just out there running just these pathetically slow times. So I got the Mega Squirt DIY MS3, soldered the entire circuit board myself. We're talking hundreds of little tiny resistors and transistors, and just soldering every little pin on this blank PCB board, and got the car running. And man, it was just the craziest thing to put that together and go in all the parameters and figure out how to upload drivers and download the tuner software and build a base fuel map, and just diving into this completely unknown area that, and then to hear the car start and have it run.
What? No way, dude.
And that was a really rewarding thing. Got the car to the track with the Mega Squirt, and right off the bat, the car runs its best time it ever has, by a lot. And man, we're going from there. And then we're, okay, well, I got the knock sensor working, and now I can see that we've been knocking like crazy. So let's change up the fuel, let's throw an intercooler on it, let's run some cooler plugs, and man, we just built on that over the years. And so pretty quick, it became clear that Mike wasn't going to be in it for the long haul. You know, he was pitching in for a while, and then he just stopped, and he stopped going to the races. So basically, within 3 or 4 months, I think, Mike was out. You know, he enjoyed hanging out after work and working on it, but he stopped contributing, and you know, Mike jumped ship pretty quick before he put very much money in it. So then it was just me and Matt. Real quick, I do want to give a thanks to my interviewer, Steve. Steve, man, I sure appreciate it. Great job on the interview. Thanks a lot. But that is enough talk for now. Let's get right to the brass tacks here. How much did Goldie cost?
The car, $800. The camshaft and all the necessary components, $575. Mega Squirt 3 and all the necessary components and modules, $950. Head studs, multi-layer steel head gasket, other miscellaneous gaskets and engine parts, $400. Fuel injectors, adapters, fuel pump, and necessary components, $675. Torque converter restalled to 4,000 RPMs, $300. We got some help from Force Performance on the turbo and ended up costing us $220. The Ford 8.8 solid axle swap cost a whopping $1,650.
So, with everything tallied up for the complete build spec of the Z in its current state, the grand total cost to build this car, just like it sits, is $7,216. Now guys, I was really tempted to omit the rear axle modification on this thing because that was by far the most expensive thing I've ever done to this car, and it really didn't make it any faster. All it did was make it a little bit more reliable. Most of what you guys have seen in the past has been on the stock rear end, stock rear axles, like all bunch of stock parts. So if you omitted that huge project that it was to put that solid axle in the back, that puts us at about $5,500, $5,566. So that's kind of what I expected, about $5,000 on this car. I was thinking it was gonna be 5 something, but I did spend a lot of money doing the rear axle setup. But really, the rear axle setup was more in the interest of future plans than it was to build out what we're currently working with. So that's the number. Listen guys, I didn't drag you through this whole video and give you all this background and build up just to talk about the price of the Z. A lot has changed with the program, and I gotta tell you, I gotta get you guys caught up to speed because I haven't given anyone an update in a long time. First things first, Matt is no longer part of the program. He kind of checked out some time ago. He really hasn't been involved in some time. You guys have probably noticed he hasn't been in any videos. Of course, Matt is still a dear friend of mine, but he's got his own life and interests and things going on, and he just didn't really have the time or any interest in continuing with the project. So Matt is out of the program. So of course, Matt and I met at Quick Car. Whenever we worked together, we spent a lot of time together. Then I left Quick Car and he went to a different shop, and you know, we kind of grew apart a little bit in terms of the projects. We didn't spend as much time together working on the cars. Then he came with me to BSP and we started working on stuff again together, but he has since left BSP. He's no longer with me there. He is now working at yet a different shop in the area that we work in, just doing the same type of service writer type work that he's always done. So we really we don't see each other enough to kind of keep the fire alive, I guess. And anyway, he's been gone for some time now. So there is more. Guys, I'm really ripping the Band-Aid off and dumping a lot on y'all today. I sold Ursula. the Lexus is gone. It has moved on to a new family. I had to unload it. I was just overworked, overwhelmed, and running out of money. I couldn't do the two cars by myself. You know, Ursula's just always been a headache. You know, there's always something with that car. There was always something going on. And after the head gasket failure, and then after the transmission and torque converter failure, it was pretty clear to me that I don't have the time, the energy, or the space to keep both these cars around. So I got rid of the car. I got what I think is a pretty fair price for it, nowhere near what I revealed it cost in the last video. I did not get my $9,800 out of that, but I didn't expect to. You know, a lot of experimenting went into that project, you know, and I learned a lot along the way. But all revenue from Ursula is going into the Datsun. Like, we are not sleeping on this thing. I'm not content with the way it is right now. We're gonna do much bigger things. We're gonna go much faster, and there'll definitely be more on that to come. But I think I've given you guys enough to unpack for one night. That's gonna do it for this week. I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for following along, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in a week or so.
All right, y'all, the day is here, the time has come. I haven't talked about this at all, but I've been wanting to sell one of the project cars. Matt's not around helping out anymore. He's got his own stuff going on. So it's basically a one-man operation at this point, and one of the cars just has to go. I don't have enough time for both of them. This is gonna be a tough pill for some of you guys to swallow, okay? The car that's leaving the fleet is the only one that is actually worth any money at all, unfortunately. That's Ursula. She's going to her new home. I already got a buyer. I posted it up for $8,000, and within 24 hours, I had a buyer lined up. I'm pretty happy with how this is all working out. I really like who it's going to. Some of you guys, if you're local to the DFW IS300 or 2JZ scene, you've probably heard of Jeff, the owner of Power Dynamics in McKinney. He's the one buying the car. I've known Jeff for some time now. He's done some light machining work. My shop has sent some work to his shop for machining needs and whatnot. So Jeff's now very familiar with the car. We hung out last night. He checked it out. We did some road testing, and it's what he's looking for. He's looking for a Turbo 400 setup to do some playing with for him and his buddies. So it is moving on. It's kind of a sad day, but it was necessary. This is necessary growing pains, because there is big plans in the works for the Z, and I'm talking, once this car's gone, with a little bit of money I'll have in my pocket after selling it, I'm gonna aggressively go after making the Z into a respectably fast car. So I'm going to head to Power Dynamics right now to deliver Ursula,